Good morning, guys. I want to touch on a topic here that I run into quite often. And you've heard me say in past videos that I could, you know, go into these properties that that have either been worked on before me or customers have tried to do some habitat improvements, which is great on their farms. But I could go in, you've heard me say this, that I could go in and just fix bedding areas. And I think once folks understand how a bedding area has to flow and what a bedding area is, as far as who's using it, is a huge, powerful tool. But it's also a tool that is very destructive, that is implemented very destructively without knowing that you're doing it. And what that causes is what I find on these properties when I'm out there is it's causing mass destruction. So one of the things I thought last week, I walked into a parcel, and if you've seen the screenshot of the picture that I put of a parcel that I designed in Osceola County, is that parcel is very strong. And the problem with it is I walked into the area and no hinge cutting bedding area improvements, trails, systems like that have been implemented, but there was logging done on it like 10 years ago. And bedding area, quite diverse bedding, and the right stem counts because of that, that logging that was done. Beautiful terrain, perfect farm. The problem with it is it was a maze. It was an absolute jungle, and there was no rhyme or reason. And that's something that I feel very strongly about. That's something that I've said this before and I'll say it again, but I'll take that to my grave with this business, promoting my hub style bedding areas. That's something that I implemented years ago, and that I've put on clients' farms, whether that's in a timber setting in the hardwoods, or if it's out, you can use the same effect out in with these switchgrass pockets out in a field. And you've heard me refer to hub style, and I always refer to my hand. It's like being from Michigan, where you at, kind of thing, or where do you live from Michigan. But the hub style design is the best way that I can explain it to folks. Is it's an arm and a hand effect. Your arm is your corridor, your forearm is your corridor, and your hand is your bedding area. And once you lay that out and you understand that why that flows, it's such a powerful tool. But what I see is folks that are other guys that are in the industry may not understand that, and it's they're hunting parcels that are the tornado effect, if you will, and that's how they implement these bedding areas. Nothing against the folks that are out there hunting these, but the problem with it is I believe that you don't realize the devastation in the tornado effect versus like my hub style design. And my hub style design has to go with contour, and you just can't, if it's a narrow 20, or you have to place it where the contour allows to be able to, like we've always said, be able to hunt it. If it's all on top of a ridge and the deer can see, even when the hinge cutting's done, you got your buck bedding and your doe bedding, and the deer can see 100 yards each way, and they can see your fence rows to the east, they can see your fence rows to the west, it's not benefiting you anything. That's where you have to be tricky, and you have to learn how to place these buck beddings in the top of a bowl setting so you can get in around it. You got to put your doe beddings down lower to the feed, and understand why you're doing that to make it work. So what I've done today is I want to touch on, is because we've had some question and answers on it, and I want to touch on the understanding the design of these hub style bedding areas. And what we're going to do is, I had a couple of topics this week that I spoke to clients about, so we're going to tie them together. One is understanding the bedding area, how it works, why I create the flow in a bedding area that I create, why I do a hub style design versus a tornado effect, and why corridors are so powerful. Not corridors that are pointed in the wrong directions, but corridors that benefit you in a hunting setup. And we're going to tie that into a southeast inside corner. if you were lucky enough on one of your farms to be able to hunt a southeast inside corner, you have to be able to understand how to hunt it. And if you're able to create it, if it's a leased parcel that you're able to create, or it's a personally owned parcel that you're able to create, we're going to tie the hub style bedding areas into a southeast inside corner. And I'm going to show you why a southeast inside corner is so powerful. So to the board, what we're going to talk about today is I've laid this out with a southeast inside corner being at the top of the farm here, so we can approach it with a northwest wind. And the only power of a southeast corner, all the power from a southeast corner, comes from a northeast wind. And the reason that is that comes directly, a northwest wind comes blows directly into a southeast inside corner. Not an outside corner, but a southeast inside corner. This dates back to my years down in Pike County, Illinois. And once you see how a deer reacts to an inside corner, especially a southeast inside corner, it makes complete sense. The reason is when you're in a southeast corner, they have on a northwest wind, which is used a lot in hunting setups because we get a lot of those no matter where you're at in the country, but more so here to the north, you get a lot of these northwest winds. So what I'm going to show you is this is to the northwest of the farm. Obviously, this is south, and I'm going to show you any large parcel, any size parcel, small parcel. This can be effective, and it may be, if it's on a small parcel, it might only be a one stand setup, but I'd rather have the right stand than multiple improperly located stands. So we're going to zoom in here, and I'm going to show you how this works. This segment is brought to you by Nature's Best Whitetails and Scents. We at Whitetail Driven Solutions have been using Tom Whitty's scents now for a few years, and I can tell you, hands down, they are the best deer lure and scent on the market. If you're looking for an all-naturally collected deer scent, I highly recommend Nature's Best Whitetail. Give Tom a call, let him know that we sent you. So as we talk, this guys is the northwest corner, and a northwest wind blows directly into a southeast corner, inside corner. So what you can see here is when a deer exits the field edge, unlike turkeys or unlike anything there, unless there is a diversion or terrain that funnels deer into a wide open long field edge, they won't do it. Like I said, if this is flat, then obviously they're gonna use the inside corner, southeast inside corner more. If it has terrain where this ridge comes down and it dumps out into it, obviously you can have a chance of that funnel effect somewhere along the edge. But if this terrain is pretty flat down here in the bottom, you can almost guarantee that your southeast inside corners are going to be hot spots. Now, the problem that I see a lot of is guys not understanding how to hunt a southeast inside corner on a northwest wind, northeast wind, or west wind. So we're gonna walk through that here real quick. So what I've designed, guys, is I've put this bedding area into effect so you can really see how these bedding areas work. To me, I go in and I find these areas, and I've done a couple videos on these now, but I'm going to elaborate here a little bit, because these areas, what I usually find is, without erasing this, what I find is these areas are just, they're, even if the folks understand that it's okay to place the doe bedding area closer to the feed, not on the feed, but closer to the feed, what I'm finding is a lot of guys are going in, and this is just not even directional hinge cutting. It's just, there's no hub, because a lot of guys don't implement my hub style design, and that's I kind of, like I said years ago, coined that, and I'm pretty proficient about building them because I understand the way they hunt in the flow. But going back to the tornado effect, this tornado effect is just random trees everywhere in each direction. Fell to the outside, fell to the inside. They might put a corridor that kind of runs through from here out to the field, but it just dead ends. I walked into one last week, and like I was saying, on that parcel that was logged, and it was a bedding area that the deer were using because of the logging, so it wasn't intentionally done. But on the parcel that I walked on 2 days later, that was an intentional bedding area, and it's just random fallen trees in any direction. And when I say tornado effect, it looks like a tornado went in and just twisted trees in every direction. Now, a lot of guys' theory is that promotes diversity, but to me, if I can't walk into a bedding area and I get confused, if I walk into something on a client's parcel or something that has been worked on from somebody before, and I get confused, it's an absolute red flag to me. And the hunters, what leads me to that is why I go there a lot of times is because, why isn't the guy that created the bedding area back? Is because the reason is because they're having trouble hunting this. They're having sporadic deer movement. They're having deer end up in these fields at night, and they don't know where they're coming from. They have deer and they're hunting stands on certain locations that are just wandering. They're getting a lot of instead of north and south movement, or north, in this situation, northwest, southeast movement. They're getting a lot of straight east and west movement, and they're, especially on small parcels, their neighbors are benefiting, and they're frustrated, and that's why they reach out. So that's why I feel very strongly about creating these hub style bedding areas. So we are going to be doing a very elaborate video on these here shortly on my own personal farm, coming up here very soon. So you'll be able to see kind of a tutorial, if you will, on how to exactly put those together, why we put them together, what they lead to, and we're going to do kind of a growth situation on those. We're going to do that growth, that stage situation, where you can actually see from time of creation, a month later, when we hang cameras in there when we leave, a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later, a year later, what it looks like, and it'll blow your mind. It'll shock you to no end. So back to the diagram here. This is, you can see, so what I do is I go to these inside corners, especially a southeast corner, because we're going to tie these two things together: how to hunt a southeast corner, and how to hunt and how to promote a hub style bedding area to make that southeast corner even better. So what I like to do, guys, is you draw a line right from the south, right where your northwest wind would enter the inside corner. And the reason is, with or without this bedding area in here, the deer are going to enter a southeast inside corner because of, on a north wind, because their nose are directly into the wind. So when they're walking out here, they're walking right into the wind. So the wind is in their favor. What I see happening is I see guys coming up here close to the field edge and implementing stands and hunting them not on a west wind. I see them hunting them on a northwest wind because they feel that these deer are using this inside corner and they can get away with this. This area from here to your food plots should be a sanctuary, like we have talked. There's no reason to have this setting in here unless something else ties into it, where you have another bedding area that comes into it, like that parcel I designed over in Osceola County last week, is because this is a swamp right here, and there was a pinch point, a funnel, and his property line was up here, and he was able to walk in from the east. We had a stand location, and we were going to put a water hole and or a licking branch, not a water hole, but a licking branch right here on the edge, and it's just a staging area before they go out in, because his property didn't allow him to go any further to the east, and that's where he had to access it. This situation is in smack dab into a center of a farm, let's say, or whatever the case is. If this is a larger parcel, you don't want to get caught into trying to hunt these on other winds, where you're coming all the way across here in from the east all the way into this location to try to hunt this, using one licking branch and one water hole, trying to hunt it so you can hunt it on an east or northeast wind. The problem is you're cutting a lot of line of travel over here. So if this is a narrow piece of property, you can do that. If this is your fence line, then by all means, this is a one-stop shop here. You killed two birds with one stone. So you have another stand location here. You're in and out just like you are over here. But the what makes this so powerful? So to finish our corridor, I go from the inside corner here and I come all the way through. I make a line, depending on the size of the parcel. This is usually that within that first 75 yards of the field edge. So you got a corridor, you've got your this, and as you can see, this is elaborate. It's got a lot of bedrooms in it, got a lot of pockets in it, but this is the hub style with the arch that they can exit at any direction. They can get out. Now, why is this tilted? All these hubs, you'll see the top of my hubs are always pointed towards stand locations or feed locations, and you have to have that to promote flow. So it's not that they're all embedded in an exact line where it's one has to go and then it creates more drama. They're bedded on top of each other. This creates compartments, and when they get out, if they are bumped, they only have to take 2 or 3 steps in any direction, and they're out to a corridor and they're gone. They're either in here out to the field, they're in here and they're out back into the timber farther. On a situation where they're not bumped, hopefully, and they're in here bedded at ease, they get out. You might have 2 does in here, you might have 2 or 3 does in here, you might have a doe family group in these pockets, and they all feel, sometimes when they exit this bedding area, they never see each other until they're in the field. That is the power of being able to flow. I mean, just by walking through here with you, you can see anytime that you get out, you hit a corridor and it just flows to the field. So that's why I put the hub towards the hub towards the field, and we funnel all this situation, all this movement towards the field. So back to, so this is within your first 75 yards off the field edge. This is your first 75 yards, depending on contour. Then what you do is like a lot of, these are straight lines that I make here, guys, because it's easiest to explain. But there might be some contour in here where this has to follow a bottom, or it's a little, it's a little twisted. I don't like complete straight lines, but this just shows you what you're trying to create and why you're trying to create it. This situation is, and I'm trying to really, have folks understand this, is what I see a lot of is this is a doe. The bigger you make this area, the more focus that you put on it, the more it becomes a doe bedding area. In this situation, that's exactly what you want, because this corridor leaves the bedding area and it goes, like we've said, it continues to the southeast, and it ends up down here in another one of these hubs. As you can see, way smaller than the first one. So obviously this is buck bedding, that's doe bedding. All your drama's up here. This is secluded. So first 75 yards, there's probably 100 yards, maybe 150 yards, depending on the size of your property, up to a couple hundred yards away. This is how far away you have to create these corridors, and you have to place this buck bedding. Now, in the center of it is where your hunting situation comes. So what I find a lot of guys trying to do is put this situation, this stand, on a field on a southeast inside corner, let's say, is they're trying to put this stand location up here because they want to be obviously closer to the field, and that's where hunting food plots and all the no-nos that I talk about come in. They're trying to hunt up here to see more deer, and they feel that all these deer have to funnel past them. In a perfect world, and this doesn't happen on every parcel, but the ones that I design that I can make it happen on, I surely do. And here's the reason why. All this deer, so you have a no pressured food plot inside corner, whether this is ag or this is a food plot. And hopefully if this is a food plot, you got some soft edge around it, so it just funnels so they're not walking right out into the, going from dark into daylight. And, this just promotes, it just plugs up things here in this corridor. But this is a, soft edge. But why do I hunt between the two of them? Why do you find me putting these stand locations in between the two of these hubs? The reason is it's everybody wants to see deer, and I understand that. Everybody wants to see numbers of deer. But guys, the fact of the matter is, unless you're doe hunting, you can do doe hunting out in these big agricultural fields and these in these big food plots, these long food plots, or whatever the case is. You can do all your doe hunting out here late season with a rifle, or during rifle season after you shot a buck, or whatever the case is. This here is so sanctuary. This has to be treated as a sanctuary as well. That after it's promoted, after it's put together, then you don't go in and out of it during the season. But this is the power to this whole hub style design is this, guys. Hunting between the two of them in this fashion, where you have less drama, more buck bedding, more drama, more doe bedding, and hunting in between it is you do not have to beat. Like I said, everybody wants to see numbers of deer, but the problem is, guys, if you're up here, you have to not only beat you have to beat the nose on a west wind, you have to beat all the nose of all these does exiting this bedding area, going to the field. You have to beat the nose of taking a chance of a wind swirl getting in here, blowing this whole bedding area out, and ruining sits for weeks to come, up to weeks to come. Definitely days, up to weeks. This is the power of hunting in between these two locations. You only have to beat the nose of the mature buck in a hunting situation. You may be able to, depending on contour, you may be able to see these does leave this bedding area and go out into feed, and that's fine. But their noses are already pointed that way. Their focus is pointed that way, and you, as here on the east side on a west wind setup or a northwest wind, you do not have to beat the nose of all this drama of all these does. So that's where I find guys getting themselves into trouble. It's up here. Don't work into this equation. Bring this down here below it, and watch how more successful your sits are, because you're not trying to beat the nose of all these deer coming from the all this drama that you're trying to create. And you want these does to be able to feed, go back to bed. If this happens around this, you want it to be able to feed, go back to bed, feed, go back to bed. You want these does bedded along the field here if they want to, in this corridor, in this bedding area, unpressured, unscathed, every night, night after night after night. If they're comfortable, your bucks are going to be comfortable. And during the rut, you're going to find, obviously, there's a lot of buck activity coming around the outside of these. But like in this situation, why I'm going to show you I chose this is I had one of these years ago, and it's a dynamite spot. I find a lot of these down in Illinois and southwest Wisconsin because of, way more contour. Northern Calhoun County, southern Pike County areas, parts of Ohio. This is where this line right here, guys, represents a ridge line. So you can see coming in from the east, you're walking uphill, you go over the crown, and you start going down in. This corridor would be halfway down, not quite halfway down to the bottom. This is a bottom. This is obviously a bottom because your ag is, or your food plot's planted in it. This just keeps coming up here further. So within that first 75 yards, you got doe bedding. This is a little bit lower. And then this corridor keeps coming up. And like I said, it might have a little twist to it. It's almost a logging road effect, if you will. And it comes up. This is the ridge top. So you can see coming in from the east. This is your footpath. So you'd be coming up the hill, climbing uphill to get to it. Just over the crown. 5 to 10 yards, you walk just down the crown, if not closer to it, depending on the depth here. You're walking just over the top of the crown into a stand location. None of the deer in this bedding area here are able to see you. None of the buck beds. And the ridge line comes down, and you've seen these top of these draws, these top of these wooded draws in this may be a situation where this creates an outside corner. Even if you got more ag down here, or field, or open timber, or whatever the case is, this might create an outside field edge. But this ridge line is at the top of these bowls. It's at the focus of these bucks are higher than they are in a doe bedding area. Your bucks like to be more secluded, but they like to see what's going on, so they know which direction to go. If you go back to the beginning of this video, northwest wind blows into a southeast corner. Southeast corner, blows into a southeast corner. So you can see, even though this may be 200 yards to this buck bedding area, 250 yards to this buck bedding area, the wind is in their favor the entire time. When you get yourselves in trouble is when you start just give them the wind or just hunt, which is probably the worst advice I've ever heard in a promotion. But going back to the northwest wind, they're always in charge here. Now, if you get in this situation where it's a south wind, you just can't hunt these on a south or especially a southeast wind, because you're going to blow all the does out of here, which is going to create drama, which just creates a ripple effect, which is going to make this buck not leave his bedding area or go elsewhere in this hunting situation. So top of the ridge line, coming in from the east, drop down in 23 to 25 yards. 23 to 25 yards down a slight slope. This is, halfway down where they love to travel, not at the top, not at the bottom, but these bucks love these corridors, logging roads, whatever. Licking branch, water hole, all in the same camera obviously here. And this is a perfect way to get in and out of a promoted hub style buck bedding and doe bedding. But if you were to just create this 100 yards off the field edge in here and put all your doe drama or a big drama filled hub style bedding area, which is fine, but you want to be able to spread it out, not all on top of each other like the tornado effect. You get down here and you create these so they each have their compartments. They feel comfortable getting out. But where I was going with that is, if you put this down here, guys, farther away from the field, this just pushes this further and further out of the equation, your buck bedding areas. And what I see is, like I said, as I see guys trying to hunt between the food, which is better if you're not on the food, it's a step in the right direction, but they're trying to hunt between this bedding area and there, and you have to now beat all the drama of here. Some situations, smaller parcels, you have to, like when I design it, there's just not the room to do two of these together. It has to be a leg off from here. One goes one way, one or the other. So you use the square footage or your acreage that you have on a small parcel. Sometimes this has to twist and come down. But if this is on a southeast inside corner, the power of hunting these, putting all the hub style up here, promoting all your drama, so you don't have to beat the nose of these does. You only have to beat the nose of these bucks. And if this is placed right, and you can come in over the top, is this a morning sit or is this a evening sit? To me, done right, this can be handled. This setup can be hunted both ways. I like it more on a morning setup because not only is the wind blowing from the northwest, these deer are coming back in here in the field, from the field into this bedding area. Their noses are pointed the opposite direction, so they're pointed at you, not at the field. Wind to their back coming in, and then you can almost guarantee that they're not gonna wind you. Problem with that is, on a morning setup, you're behind this one, but you're above your buck bedding area, so you really have to watch. I'd prefer hunting this on a north west wind, where you get more so it can blow up over the hill and behind you where there's no deer movement. That's what I'd prefer to see. But you can get away with it on a northwest wind. You just have to have your contour. You might have to move this up farther up the ridge. This might have to be down farther or farther away from you on like more of a twist to get that northwest wind to pass it. Obviously, you don't want the northwest wind blowing right into it. But perfect situation is a morning sit on this in a west wind. The deer come back in, the does come back in, filter in. The bucks are out here with them. The bucks might be up here in another area, checking other doe bedding areas. They come back in. What you're going to find is you're going to find buck movement along this ridge. Like we talked, halfway, 3/4 way down, they're going to tie into these. And not only are they scent checking the field on their way back, they're scent checking the doe. They're scent checking the doe bedding area without entering it. Every time that they walk down, northwest wind, all this is blowing into their nose. They walk around. they hang out here on the ridge, they hit this corridor, or they just follow the natural contour and they're going right past your stand locations, right back to bedding. If you've got room, you might want to get fancy and try another one of these buck bedding areas off from here and create the same effect here. So not only do you have separation, you have another, this might be another draw where this comes down. Obviously this is the peak. This goes down just a little bit and then back up. You could have another one here. You just have to watch how far away where you are in the morning. That's why I like this better on a morning setup, because these bucks are not in this setup. They're already gone. They're working their way back to it. And by the time they get back in here, then you can take your time getting out, depending on where these bucks bed. Hopefully this, like I said. So you've got first 75 yards. You've got another couple hundred yards. So you're in the center. So you're 100 yards from the bedding area, and you're 100 yards from here. And that should give you plenty enough room to get in and out of these. But you can see, guys, the power of flowing through a hub style bedding area, especially when you can hunt it on a northwest wind on a southeast inside corner, how to create these. But you have to be wise enough to use your entrances from the east, and don't try to get creative coming in from hunting this on a east wind, unless this is a narrow parcel. Like we said, if this is a narrow parcel, then obviously, yes, get in. You can use another stand location here to get in. Very effective. One licking branch, one water hole, 2 stands. But if this is deep to the west, then you create other bedding areas, other situations to hunt east winds. Don't try to come all the way through here, because what you're doing is you're coming all the way across all these lines of travel that do come out of these doe bedding areas or filter back into them. You're cutting all that. Here, coming in from the east, using contour, if it permits. Like I said, and this is, this is the, you find a lot of these. It sounds easy, it sounds simple, but boy, there's a lot of these that get overlooked in Illinois, Southern Pike County, Northern Calhoun County, Jersey County, Greene County, Illinois. I see a lot of these in. I see a lot of these locations that are missed in Ohio, Southern Michigan, and the farther you come north, the harder it is to find these. But this, guys, is a overlooked deer buck magnet, high percentage sit that is very, very powerful, that is mistreated sometimes. But to explain it to you so you understand the hub style bedding area a little bit more and understand the corridors. So like we've always said, this in here, if this isn't a logging road, then you have to promote edge. This can't be all solid open. Something I should have talked about, this can't be open solid hardwoods in here. Even if this is a ridge, you have to promote, best case scenario, promote some edge. So you might have to go through this area here and take 20 trees out on each side of this corridor after you create that corridor. If there's not a logging road there already, take a skid steer or by hand or whatever the case is, make this bench down through here, and a little excavator, make this logging road, make this bench, but it has to be thick. So it's a good idea to take some trees out and make this a direct line so there's edge. Open hardwoods, what you'll find is they start venturing off to find what edge is there. So I hope this helps, guys. It's a little lengthy video. I'll try to cut it down as much as I can, but I'm going to start slowing down a little bit on these bedding areas, really making you understand not only how to create these bedding areas, but how to create them in different wind situations. And I think that's something that I talk to a lot of clients on YouTube, where this will be. And once I'm out on their locations, it's easy to talk about them out there, but sometimes it's not the easiest to see. That's why I do all my designs when I'm there. If I don't give it to you right then and there in these locations that I'm staying overnight, it'll be there to you that night after we walked it, or whatever the case is, depending on if it's a smaller parcel. Obviously it's done right then and there. If you're in a situation where that's not being done to you or given to you, then you're probably dealing with someone that doesn't have the experience right off the bat to be able to create these and give these to you, and know how they hunt and how to create them by looking at the contour. It's something that they have to go back and think about, or you're one of 5 clients that day and they're not spending enough time with you. This is where this all ties in. I know these work. I've hunted these. I've created these. I coined these years ago. I know they work, and I've got many parcels this year with them on, and you're gonna see some great mature bucks that made it through last season get killed in these hub style bedding areas coming up this year. So if you have any questions, guys, feel free to reach out. Always appreciate everybody's comments. The last month has been just extremely kind of humbling, if you will, with all the positive comments and guys reaching out and comments that I deserve more subscribers and stuff like that. That means a lot, guys. That tells me that my passion is shining through. So feel free to reach out anytime, and anything I can do to help you to put these together or make it more clear for you and understand how this works. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.